5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the PIO podcast, a place to discuss all public information-related topics for police, fire, EMS, and local and federal government organizations.
It was a good learning experience for a lot of us that social media is not real life.
But we have to remember the media are very rarely a target audience. They're simply that conduit.
Our words have impacts on individuals, and it may not be positive. So just being thoughtful and mindful of the words that we speak.
I think what's so interesting about this position too, and this job and this profession, is that every one of us is looking for purpose, and when we find it here, that's it.
To know is that a crisis for one is not necessarily a crisis for another.
This episode is sponsored by the Social Media Strategy Summit, the leading provider of social media education. They host annual events designed specifically for government communications professionals like you to help you build and engage your communities through social media. Visit their website at socialmediastrategysummit.com to learn more and use promo code PIO podcast for 10% off of your registration.
Good afternoon. Today on the PIO podcast, we have Trent Faris. Trent is from the York County Sheriff's Office in South Carolina. Trent, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. I guess it's welcome back, right?
Yes, you are a two-timer. Welcome back. That's awesome.
Is there a scoreboard for this?
Well, we're putting you up there. You're number 2, so we're gonna see if we can get you on 4 or 5 times. If you're a 5-timer, you get a lifetime subscription or something like that. Who knows?
Oh, do I get one of those Saturday Night Live jackets?
Now that would be interesting. Yeah, we can get the little red jacket and everything.
Right.
So Trent, you have been on the show a second time now. I wanted to bring you back to talk about a bunch of things that you got going on down there. So you have been very busy in your office at York County Sheriff's Office. What kind of changes have you made or additions have you done in the PIO office there?
Since the last time you and I talked, I had actually gone to several different trainings. I finally finished up my FEMA Master PIO course, got that taken care of, and it has been tremendous. And if anybody's listening and they think that they don't need to be an Advanced PIO or try to get that Master PIO, that you need to go talk to Nicole Schutz at FEMA or anybody who's been involved with the Master PIO program or any of that training and get on board right now, because I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. I have still meet up with my friends. We have a meeting, I think this week or next, with my classmates, and we're done. We're done. We still get together and talk once a month, and it's wonderful. And we met up last week at the NIOA conference. So the resources and the friendships and the knowing that if I need somebody, they've got my back. And so I've done that. And then early last year, they did and here in South Carolina, it's a little different as far as how law enforcement certifications work. For years, I was what they called a limited duty class 3 officer for 10 years almost here in South Carolina. Basically, I got to carry a gun and badge and walk around and look like the police, but I couldn't really write a ticket or do any kind of law enforcement stuff. I had limited duty, limited powers, arresting powers. And so last year they changed some of the rules, and my boss came up to me and asked me, he said, "Hey, so Trent, they're changing up some of the law and the rules, and you don't necessarily have to do it. There's, class 3 advanced, class 2, class 1. Would you be interested in going to be a class 1 officer?" And I was like, "Well, sure, Major. I'm in for everything. I told you before, I have a hard time saying no to people." And so at 46 years old, I decided to spend 16 weeks total with our 8-week pre-service academy training here in York County, and then 8 weeks at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, all while doing my PIO job.
Oh my God. No, how did you do that?
Well, it's the beauty of the internet. The beauty of the internet and cell phones, being at the academy, you can't have much access to the that kind of stuff. So I got off, it was study and work. And luckily, thankfully, Sheriff Tolson here, hired a community relations officer. His name's Jonathan Gilbert, and he pulls out the little office, quote that I'm not the assistant PIO. I am the assistant to the PIO. He's the community relations officer, but he says I'm the assistant to the PIO.
Nice.
He helped out, and the sad thing was, man, he got hired here and then had to go to our FTO training, and he went through FTO, and he had 1 week. I had 1 week to get him up speed on how to run the PIO job here before I headed off to the academy for 8 weeks. So,
ooh, talk about right into the frying pan,
you
huh?
wouldn't believe it. And I'm telling you, man, when we were talking to each other, I'd call him every day, or he'd call me, and I said, I've got a break at lunch, and I got a break here, and I got a break when we get done in the afternoon. And we talk almost every day and made sure everything just ran smoothly. You wouldn't have even known I was at the academy if I didn't have done anything. So I did that. And so to get back to your original question, after the academy, just like every officer does after they graduate the academy, they have to go through a field training program. And while I was in FTO, I was riding around. I was like, man, this would be pretty cool to show to people, what it's like to go through all this. So I asked the sheriff and the major, my new major, Fred Moore, I said, hey, I got this idea. What would you think about me going live on Facebook while I'm out on patrol with my field training officer, Nick Suriano? And he goes, oh, yeah, that's fine. I'll trust you, Trent. I was like, okay, here we go. And so I planned it, and I said, you know what? You have live PD on patrol. They do it for the nation. And I told him, I said, let's do the same thing, and we'll call it Ride with Yoko, and Ride with York County. And we did that. So it became a thing. I didn't think it would take off as much as I thought it would, but our local citizens really love it. They love the aspect of being able to talk, see what goes on out there on the road during a shift time. And now we do at least once a month. At least I try not to spread it out too much. I just try to spread it out like at least once a month, try to get out there and show people what it's like out on the road. And that, you want to keep going, I can keep going. I've actually started working with Derek Becker, Adam Meyer, Michaela Moskoff, a couple other people, Renee Wunderlich here in South Carolina, Steve Combs. We're all working to organize the first state Palmetto Alliance of Public Information Officers Association, where we're working towards October 26th. We want to have our very first statewide training where we have 130 people coming.
That was going to be my next question, because I was going to say you were recently pretty instrumental in creating the Palmetto Alliance for PIOs. So let's talk about that. And first, let's say, explain to me what the PIO is and what it's about. And then how did that come up? How did you guys get to this next level?
It's PIO, as we like to call it, as affectionately is the word. Affectionately, we call it PIO. And it's just an organization of all public information officers and comms professionals here in South Carolina who are wanting to work together as in a network of all levels of government, not just law enforcement and fire. This is, government, EMS, healthcare, schools. We're all going to get together. So if the fit ever hits the shan, we can rely on each other and call on each other, because right now it was just a Facebook group.
Right.
For years, it was a Facebook group that Derek Becker down at South Carolina Emergency Management created years ago. And when I actually was a baby PIO in 2012, when I first started, I got a flyer saying, hey, we're having a statewide training. It's going to be here in Columbia, and we're having a training. And they put that on, and I didn't go, but that was the last time we had an organized statewide training where we all got together. And I'm a goal-oriented type of person, and every year, I try to set goals for myself, which is 1-year goal, 5-year goals, 10-year, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Set up goals for myself, and one of those things was like, you know what? They have an association for South Carolina Gang Investigators Association. They have Negotiators Association. They have, like in the School Resources Officers Association. I mean, there's an association for everything, but there wasn't an organized association for public information officers in South Carolina. And I said, it is about darn time, and we need to get this taken care of and get going. And so that's what I did. I said, you know what? This is going to be one of my 1-year goals, is to get this off the ground so we can build it up and make it similar to the Florida Florida Public Information Officers Association, where last week at the NIOA conference, the head of that got up and said, hey, we need people for whenever we have stuff happen. We need, task force people to come help us when we have hurricanes or something like that. So same concept.
So originally it was a Facebook group.
Yep.
Right? So then it's a Facebook group, but it kind of like, that's all it was. So are you guys into the full bylaws, created organization or association, collecting dues, that kind of thing yet?
That is where we're working our way towards.
Okay.
Yes. I've got our staff attorney here at the York County Sheriff's Office helping me out on how to write that stuff up and get that off the ground and get it, and with the South Carolina, Secretary of State's office. And also making sure we have it right the first time so we don't mess it up and have to go back and change things.
Oh yeah.
Steve Combs in, I think he's Bluffton. He's Bluffton Fire down in South Carolina. He also a Master PIO from FEMA. He's helped out with that because he has helped start nonprofit organizations. So that's part of the process. Right now, it's all free. We're working on it just to kind of spice it up and, dangle the carrot in front of everybody and say, this is what we can have and this is what we can work towards. So eventually, it's not going to be extraordinary as far as dues, because if you do a lot of research, I think the most I saw for his, yearly dues for another state organization similar was $30 at the most. I've seen from $10 to $30 a year.
Yeah, I've seen a few where I know out in Colorado, I think the Emergency Services Public Information Officers Group, that's I think it's 100, but it's the agency pays it. They kind of jumped onto that one to do that. So, in Illinois, the association they used to have, kind of was like yours currently.
Yeah.
Where it didn't have any dues and it wasn't a real association. It was just a network. But I know, the deputy chief from Lake County Sheriff's Office, Chris Covelli. So Chris is in the process of creating an association for the state. So those are all everybody's doing it because we all need the networking, because we all can't do it on our own. When the crisis hits, we all know we're not going to be able to handle it all by ourselves. So very important. And so you guys have a conference, you said October 26th coming up?
Yep, October 26th. I got with a bunch of people, like I said, Derek Becker, Adam Myrick, Michaela, and Steve, Renee. And I said, hey, what is a good date? What do you think? And then Derek told me, he said, hey, October is kind of funny around here in South Carolina with little storms that like to pop up off the coast of Africa and make their way towards America.
Is that called a hurricane?
Yeah. And so I was like, well, it's either do it then or never do it, because that seems like most of the time that everybody's available. I said, we'll play it by ear. If there's a little storm off the coast, we can drop back and punt if we need to. But October 26th, we have 130 people signed up to come. North Dakota just started a PIO association up in North Dakota, and they had 50 show up, and I'm sure that is,
that's probably not bad. That's probably pretty much all that you can find up there, right? I mean, you would think population wise. I mean, that's amazing. So what kind of training or topics or speakers are you bringing in, or are you just using locals?
At the moment, right? Yeah. I mean, I've got it right here. Here's our agenda.
Nice.
Nobody's supposed to see this yet, but that's it.
Nice.
We've got SLED's chief, Mark Keel. He's the chief of our state law enforcement division, Adam Myrick, the Captain Adam Myrick from Lexington County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, you got the big names in there.
Heck yeah, he's going to come in. You know, he's passionate about the writing style, the AP writing style, writing of news releases. We've got a social media communications panel coming up with Tylee Anderson. She's the director of communications from the Catawba Indian Nation. That's one of our Indian local tribes here in South Carolina. Tia Bowers from the town of Bluffton. I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Mauricio, I'm sorry, Mauricio, but he's going to talk about minority affairs and social media. Ken Waller is on the standby list. He's from Greenville County Schools. And we got the meme king himself from SCEMD, Howard Quintanilla and Tiffany Barrett. They're coming talk to us about social media on a panel. We got Michaela, who is the director of public information down in Horry County. She's going to talk about the importance of internal communications, and she wrote her Master PIO paper and got a 100 on her Master PIO paper for FEMA. And she's going to talk about that. And to round it all off, we're going to have this one guy named Trent Faris come and talk about.
Now, he's a celebrity.
Well, we had an incident happen a couple years ago where an NFL football player killed 6 people here in York County. And it was one of our biggest critical incidents that we've had to deal with. And, you know, that was something where it was difficult for me to be able to, 1, halt the rumor mill, and 2, communicate effectively while we were trying to, 3, find this guy before we found him. And so the whole thing is how a well-prepared crisis communications manual will help you say a lot to your public without saying a lot to your public.
Right. And you know what? If you don't plan for it, it's only going to hurt you later on. And
I learned a lot. I learned a lot from that whole experience. And I said, and it goes back to PIOs need PIOs, and getting this group together. That day, I wish I would have, instead of holding everything to my chest, I wish I would have grabbed everybody and said, come help me. You know, and eventually I did, but that day I could have used a whole heck of a lot of help.
You know what? And we get tunnel vision, right? I mean, we get tunnel vision because we're stuck on, this, and there were probably people that were offering their help, and you just were like, no, I got it. I'll take care of it. You know, it's like.
Yep. And we've had several incidents where, a couple years ago, we had an incident down in Chester County where a guy was on the run. This is the county south of York County, and this guy was on the run for 7 days. He was a murderer that was on the run in the woods of Chester County, and we thought he was up here in York County for a little bit. And the PIO down there at the time, I said, hey, bud, I can come down there and help you whenever you want. And I should, in hindsight, just went down there and did it. Just went. But, I knew I could have helped, and back to the Alliance of Public Information Officers in South Carolina, that's the purpose. I selfishly want help when a critical incident happens, and I hope that folks who come will also seek out help, because when you're a PIO and a solo PIO, and like I am a solo PIO, you're going to need help when the fit hits the shan. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but
you're right, 100%. Absolutely. So you alluded to this. You talked about this. York County isn't a coastal community, but it certainly can be affected by hurricane season. And so you guys just had one pass through. I don't know if you guys got a whole lot of damage up by you. My son is down in North
Charleston.
Chester. Yeah, North Charleston. He's down at the Coast Guard, the FLETC down there. So he's going through a maritime enforcement course right now, and he ended up having to move him because where they were barracked up, it was a low area. So he was telling me about it, and of course, what did he say? Oh yeah, it wasn't really that bad, and we went surfing after the storm. I'm like, what? He was in the water like right after the storm passed. I go, dude, rip currents. You're the Coast Guard. Don't they tell you this stuff?
Yeah. Charleston, I vacation in Charleston quite a bit. I have family that lives in the Isle of Palms. And last time we got hit by a super bad hurricane right there was Hurricane Hugo in 1988, I think. And we've had our share of hurricanes that have hit the coast. And this time it was just nothing but a little bit of rain and wind up here in the upstate of South Carolina where we're at. And if anybody needs to know where York County, South Carolina is, look for Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're the county south in South Carolina, the first county you would enter into in South Carolina from North Carolina. So yeah, that's where we're at. And so, I mean, it wasn't too bad, but I was also at the NIOA conference. Oh my gosh, when all that happened. And so many people, so many of my friends from Florida and, South Carolina, Georgia, all had to peel out and go home because of a little bit of a hurricane that ended up kind of, not doing too much. I mean, they're all serious, don't get me wrong, but, and it's better safe than sorry. But yeah, hurricanes can be a bear. And we have leak off the coast right now. So everybody's looking at it.
Yeah, you've got one right now that's potentially bearing down. It's way too early to tell, but how do you message for that then? What's your messaging like? Or is it really more the emergency management right now that
and
does
if
their
anybody
messaging?
needs to see how it's really done and how well it's done about preparing for things, preparing for whatever happens, whether it's a hurricane, bad storm, earthquake, I need you to go right now and follow SCEMD on Twitter, at SCEMD on Twitter. That is the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, and all my friends down there from Derek Becker on down to Tiffany Barrett. They do a tremendous job on messaging on how to prepare before the storm or whatever hits. And they do it with some class and some humor too. So it's good stuff.
Let's take a quick break.
I think it would be useful at least to experiment, and I know some universities have started to experiment with this, but experiment with having, a required course maybe for all students entering the university. They used to have a course at my university, which was like here's how to go to college class, here's how to study and things like that. They don't have that course anymore, but instead of having something like that, have a course that show students, here's the history of free speech, here's how it.
And I'll add them into the show notes so that people can connect to them, because I'm sure that, it's always good to get it better. If you've got somebody that's doing a really good job, it's always great to plagiarize it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And use it for your own.
Dude, I think we talked about it before. I said, you take other people's good ideas and make them your own. I mean, nobody.
Absolutely.
That's right, man. We won't come. We're not creative enough to come up with this funny stuff.
We don't need AI. We just need each other.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
All right. So, Trent, nationwide recently, there's been a lot of swatting threats that have crossed the country. Have you guys in your county, have you had experience with any of that?
Brother, you wouldn't believe. And we had one most recently. We've had two in my previous knowledge that were pretty bad. And, I want to say it happened back in June of this year, where we had an incident where somebody called out a swatting call. I mean, we didn't know it was a swatting call, of course, when it came over the, 911 and everything. And it's, it was bad. Where this guy said he kind of reminisced of an actual event where a guy killed his 3 kids and his wife or something like that. I think it was, I want to say, but same thing. But when the information started coming over the radio, it's like, hey, he's got other people outside with these types of rifles and this type of stuff. And we got out there pretty quick, and we were letting everybody know as quickly as we could, let them know that it was a false call and a swatting call. Because as you know, in the world of social media, the rumor mill can spin up really fast, and it was starting to spin up really quick. So that was one of the opportunities I had to go Facebook Live and quell some of the rumors right away after we knew that it was a false call. People were, could say what they want to say about how we responded, but we don't know. We don't know until we get there.
Absolutely. And that's important that you went and you did a Facebook Live to make it so that it was, you're out there on the scene and the facts. And that's important, I think, for our listeners to hear, is you can put a tweet out or you can put a post out, but when you go live, that algorithm pulls it up to the top and says, pay attention. It definitely is going to do more impact than just putting out a post that says the threat's not real. We're investigating.
And the beauty of all of our previous Ride with Yoko videos is people knew that if we're going live, we're going to actually show you something that's what you need to see, because we've done it for we do it for swearing in ceremonies and other news conferences and such like that. But when now we have the audience that we need to see that information when we need to, and luckily, like you say, algorithms and stuff, the local folks see it first, but then once it starts simmering and festering a little bit on Facebook, that it starts spreading, people share it and spread it, and it starts spreading out to other people who don't live in York County. And that's my only gripe about it.
Right.
Because we did a live video where we chased down a guy who stole a Dodge Charger, went running in the woods, ran to a school, the same stuff. We didn't run into the school, but in a school area. And we caught that guy. So we went out there and I did a video saying, hey, Dodge Charger, this one behind me, stolen. And we caught the guy just to let everybody know. And
that calms people down pretty quick.
Local folks, but then you get everybody who doesn't like law enforcement and people who don't live within like 100 miles of this place.
Yeah.
Starting comment on it. And there's got to be some kind of answer to it. Do I have it? No. But that's the thing.
You're never gonna get rid of the detractors and the haters, and the nice thing is you just rely on the good people in your community that you've already that you built that trust bank up with, and they'll take care of it on their own.
And they do, and I am so thankful for the people in York County. I'll tell you that, man. They are our biggest cheerleaders that I could ever ask for, because when somebody starts getting in there and start stirring it up with calling us this and that, whatever else, they get in there and they do the dirty work for me, so I don't have to get in there and comment on most things.
Right. So Trent, recently some agencies have shut down some of their two-way communications via social media. What's your opinion on this?
Oh, heck no. Don't do that. I mean, see, this is the problem, and I hope in the future I will be able to, Adam Myrick has Sarah Summerall is his digital communications coordinator down in Lexington County in South Carolina. He has a Sarah, and one day I hope to hire a Sarah, because it has gotten to the point where you need somebody like that. Because I was telling one of our sergeants today, I said, yesterday I had to catch up on all the bulletins that you guys wanted me to post about stolen cars and people we're looking for, wanted folks. And I had to get into the messenger and start replying to some of the messages that were sent to us. And I mean, it was all like a big clump. If I could, I would do that all the time and respond to people's comments on posts and messenger and everything. But it's difficult for a solo PIO like myself. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say in the future, you're going to see more and more agencies go from the solo PIO to a duo PIO, where you're going to have somebody who handles all that digital stuff for you, website and everything. Because as media continues to move towards this, social media and having everybody on social media versus going to your traditional news outlets, this is our number one way of communicating with people. And social media is social. If you're going to be on social media, you got to be social. So you got to get out there.
I like that. I like that. Social media is social. Trent, that's a good way of putting it. I like that.
You got to be social with them. So, do it.
All right, Trent. So, as somebody that's been in the field as long as you have now, what do you see the role of the PIO over the next, say, 5 or 10 years going to?
My good pal Judy Powell. Judy Powell, I heard her say something the other day. It's your PIO is not you're the spokesperson and face of the agency, but I see it more of that role of the PIO kind of being more of the manager and leader of a public affairs unit. Larger agencies have public affairs units, and I will tell you on my 5-year goals list, which is right here, is to have the York County Sheriff's Office have a full-fledged public affairs office where you have the director of public affairs, the captain, lieutenant, whoever you want to be in charge of it. And then you have, your PIOs that work the shift. Like you're working, one's on days, one's on nights, or one works the weekends, and you just rotate all that, and you all work together.
Right.
Because you have to keep those messages out. Especially with folks who are getting on Twitter and Facebook now and listening to the dreaded 5.0 radio and or whatever these apps are where you can listen to radio traffic from police agencies. There are more and more people who are getting out there and listening to that stuff, listening to your radio traffic and getting on there and starting to tweet out things that they have no idea what it's about.
Absolutely.
And that causes more trouble and rumors than you can ever fathom. And so we have to start combating that.
And I think that the agencies are I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just saying, I think agencies are starting to realize that there's a lot of value in your public affairs, public information office, and they're starting to realize they need to staff it more heavily, give it social media person. Video is such a big deal here now, especially with critical incidents. You can't rely on, the person that just knows how to do video. You have to have a person that knows how to blend it, knows how to put captions in, knows how to put different methods of media together and put it into a cohesive format so that when you do broadcast your critical incident debrief, that it makes sense and it's short enough where it has the content you need the public to know.
Absolutely. And that's what and everybody's got a phone nowadays. Everybody's got these little things called a phone or an Android.
Yeah. And with the camera.
This is three little cameras here on my phone, and all of them can take pictures and video and great quality too. And the audio is great too. And if you need to, I mean, more and more people are starting to just, they won't look at like the pictures on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. They want video.
Yep. Video is king. Absolutely.
The reels, Instagram reels, where I told the sheriff, I said, we'll start doing more. One of my goals is to do more video, more and more video versus just a standard stagnant picture.
Right.
Explaining things. But being a solo PIO here,
it's hard. It's hard.
It takes a lot to make videos. So.
Yes, it does. Yes. All right, Trent, let's go into some rapid fire questions, some simple ones. Pancakes or waffle?
Pancakes.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Adult drink of choice?
Gosh, you put me on the spot. Currently bourbon.
Excellent. What makes you laugh?
My dogs.
Do you have a hobby?
I do woodworking when my shop is not a train wreck, like it's been hit by a hurricane, of all things.
There you go. If you could choose and have coffee with any historical figure, who would it be?
Ooh, now you're talking to a guy who loves history, got his minor in history, and there is a lot of people. And I had this conversation the other day with somebody, and if anybody historical figure, I probably would go back and, gosh, dude, oh man, I could think of 100 people right now. Oh Lord. Can I go and say my 21-year-old self?
Sure.
No, my 18-year-old self.
God, we always could go back and tell ourselves to fix something. Yeah, exactly. All right, Trent, final thoughts. Anything key points you'd like the listeners to know?
Just like last time, buddy, I want to remind everybody, one, PIOs need PIOs. Get that training. Go to any kind you want. If you want me to recommend some, go to from the bottom to the top of the triangle, the FEMA educational pyramid. Do that. Go talk to Nicole Schutz at FEMA or your local emergency management person in your state to get you on the track to do that, because you will not regret it, especially that APIO course.
Yeah, and I interviewed Nicole just a few months ago, so there's a whole thing that we talked about, all the training that FEMA offers, and whether it's the online stuff or it's the actual classwork that they offer for free. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, Trent, how can people best reach out to you?
Oh, man, you can get me anything. You can find me all over the internet. It's Trent.Faris or Trent Faris on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't hide my name like some people, but it's just, if you want to find me, I'm out there. Look for the guy with kind of gray hair and the beard. Now I have a beard now, but just find me. Also follow the PIO Twitter page, PIO_SC.
And I will add that into the show notes so that everybody can get it. Thank you. All right, Trent, thanks for being on the show.
All right, buddy, I'm always glad to be here. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it, buddy.
That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Another huge thank you to the Social Media Strategies Summit for being a sponsor of the PIO podcast. Join their First Responders Summit this April or their Government Summit this May. Learn more about confirmed speakers and programming at socialmediastrategiessummit.com and use promo code PIO Podcast for 10% off of your registration.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified of the latest episode. If you are listening on a platform that allows reviews, please give us a review. We appreciate any review, good or bad. It helps us improve on each episode. Until next time, be safe.